Hey, coaches, and all you others out there. I know we got a few of you. Welcome back to Football Talk with Coach Chip. Today we're going to answer a few questions from my inbox. I've said before, if you have any questions, comments, put them in the comment section down below. Hit me up at siegel.chip@gmail.com. And people have been doing that, and I've not ignored it. A lot of them I hit up back, individually and answered questions. But I thought, what the heck? Some of these questions, I'm going to do two today, may be interesting to others. One of the goals when I started doing this over a year ago, shortly after I retired and then came out of retirement to work in another state, that's another story. My goal was to create a safe place for young coaches, for not so young guys who become coaches because their son, their grandson, their nephew, their niece has started playing football and they've been lassoed into coaching the team. And just watching football, which is good, but it's not enough to necessarily learn the game. And I noticed on a lot of social media pages, and it's still that way to some degree, it's not a safe place. And what I mean by that, if you ask a question, you get mocked. Or if you ask a question that somebody knows, you get mocked. And let me go ahead and tell you all this. I remember the great Mickey Andrews, who was like one of the best defensive coordinators in college football and even was in the USFL for a minute. In the 80s and 90s, he was the dude as far as defense goes. He was Bobby Bowden's defensive coordinator from like 84, 85, until the two of them retired together shortly before Jimbo took over the program at Florida State. And Mickey was from his hometown was the town that I coached in for 10 years. And unbeknownst to me, we went to church with Mickey's parents. So one day I'm sitting in church and I look over there and I said, that's Mickey Andrews. And so afterwards I went over and introduced myself, and I was in my 30s. And we struck up a friendship. And shortly after that, one of Mickey's parents passed, and the whole Florida State staff came to the funeral. So here I am sitting, and guys that don't know this, I'm from the South, if you couldn't tell by what comes out of my mouth. In the South, after a funeral, you have an eating, okay? In the South, after most things, you have an eating. But Mickey said, hey, Coach, come sit with us. So I'm sitting there eating with, Chuck Amata, okay? I can't even remember all the assistant coaches that were there, several former Florida State greats from the 80s, Bobby Bowden, Mickey Andrews. The OC at the time, I don't think it was Rick. It might have been Rick before he went to Georgia, but he wasn't there. It was primarily Mickey's defensive staff and Coach Bowden. And then after that, I started going to, and where we were, like 2 hours from Tallahassee, we were in extreme southeast Alabama, and struck up a friendship. And we had a coaches clinic, and I invited Mickey to come speak, to be the main speaker. And it was good. It was just a little mini, I call it a boutique clinic. We did it 3 years in a row, drew 50, 60 guys every year, which is a one-room clinic. It wasn't anything big like Glacier. And Mickey came and was our main speaker the first year, and we even kind of coerced him into doing a question and answer thing. But one of the things Mickey told me out of his own mouth was when he speaks at clinics, he didn't say things like 3 technique, 2 technique, 4-eye, and all that. And I remember Mickey played for Coach Bryant, who sometimes is credited or blamed, depending how you look at it, for coming up with the numbering system. 0 is the nose and all that. And so Mickey said everybody has a different way, and I still remember Hugh Nall at Auburn with his offensive line. He just numbered everything 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That way, because he said our kids don't go both ways. He goes, and we all know what we're talking about. He said, so when they come off the field and they're telling me the guy's in a 3, I know what he's talking about. So what Mickey was saying though was everybody has a little difference on the numbering system. So he said, Coach, it's not that many more words just to say outside shoulder, inside shoulder. My point is, Mickey was saying this is one of the all-time greats, Hall of Fame assistant football coach, okay? was saying he could even be put in a position where he didn't know what somebody was talking about. And so that's why when he was in a clinic, he did not want to make some coach sit there and wonder, like, what's he talking about 3 technique? What's he talking about 4-eye technique? What's he talking about a 5 tech? You know, today it's become a little more universal, but I'm sure there are staffs out there that do it different from other staffs. The point I'm trying to make a long story even longer, is don't be embarrassed to ask questions. And people out there on social media, you know, you may be like me, I've been coaching 36 years. Okay, and you know a lot of the basics of football. But I guarantee John Brown to you there was a time you didn't. And somebody taught you. You be that dude that teaches that other dude something about football without mocking them. All right, let's get started. We'll talk about a couple of the questions. And don't forget, our sponsor, Right Equipment. Train the right way. It's right-equipment.com. Do not buy anything for your weight room without checking with the guys at Right Equipment first. You find them real easy on the interwebs, right-equipment.com. Hey, tell them Coach Chip sent you. All right, one of the questions was about strong side, quick side. Now, I'm old enough. I started playing football in 1972. I remember when they called it strong side, weak side. I think about my 10th grade year is when they changed it. In 1978 at my school, we were a split back veer team that went in and out of the eye a little bit. But we called it strong side, weak side, which I felt stigmatized. And they changed it to quick side. And this went on into the 80s. Now, the reason they did it was not necessarily because you had a strong side, necessarily because you had a weak side, or that if I were the quick tackle, I promise you I wasn't the quick tackle. I was just labeled the quick tackle. But the strong side, because that's where the tight end would be. Okay, that's why it was called that. And of course, the weak side, because that's where the tight end's not. Strong side, weak side. The reason for doing it, and there's probably a multitude of reasons for doing it, and probably the truth of the matter is the strong tackle was a little bit better blocker than the quick tackle or the weak tackle. But the reason I hear coaches give me that some do it, and just this summer when I went and did an install for a guy, I didn't necessarily try to talk him into it, but I just kept showing him the benefits of not flipping, because he wanted to go no huddle. And I really think the no huddle has done away with the strong side, quick side, because it's a little, cumbersome flipping with no huddle and all that. And you watch the old school video of some of your college teams that did the strong side, quick side, and watch them. That strong side would go first, okay, and out of the huddle when they break it. But the no huddle, the lack of huddling, because I remember the first time we didn't flip on a team that I was on, flip sides, was when I was in college at Troy back in the early 80s, and we went no huddle. See, we were a no huddle wishbone team. So we just had a right side, left side because we didn't huddle. And the tight end and the split end would flip sides. Made it much easier with just two guys swapping sides. All right, another reason I believe, and I have nothing to back this up but experience, is the reason they did away with it. I think inside zone, outside zone, the zone blocking schemes, okay, have changed it, because the reason a lot of coaches that still do it is they're teaching like one guy, like one side has one set of blocks to learn. And if you're a place where you're fortunate enough to have two O-line coaches, you can have a quick side guy and a strong side guy. And the centers kind of go back and forth between the two. And I'll show you what I'm talking about later. So in the wishbone, this would be a right formation. And strong side and the tight end would go to the right. Now you see here's the left formation out of wishbone. The strong side went to the left and the tight end went to the left. Okay? And what would happen, you may have something like outside veer on this side and inside veer on this side. Counter off the option back over here, and just whatever plays you're going to run. Okay, so that's one of the reasons why they flip. And I'm going to show you a little better example of that in another formation. All right, now here's a good example of an I formation team that flips sides, which, by the way, I'm a big Alabama fan. Those of y'all that follow me know that. Back in the 80s, when Coach Bryant retired and subsequently passed away about a month or two later, Ray Perkins took over. And, of course, he came from the pro ranks. And he was an I formation guy, had been coached with the Giants, and that's back when the pros ran the ball a lot more than they do today. And he brought with it his I formation. And they had a strong side and a quick side. Now, let me show you an example of the advantage of flipping. Okay, remember, if you're a huddling team, I don't have a problem with it. The strong side would be the power side. What I mean by that, you'd run the power. And so these two guys would learn the double team. We'll learn the double team block. This guy doesn't have to, because you don't run this particular offense I'm talking about. They didn't run power weak. All right, this side would be your counter side. So whether counter would always be weak, power would always be strong, and the lineman would flip. So the tight end, the strong tackle, the strong guard would learn power blocking, okay? And then the quick side would learn counter blocking. And so when you'd run power, this guard always repped the wrap. He's the wrapper, okay? So, and then when you run in counter, the strong guard, whether you're in right or left, would learn the flat pull and kick the D in, okay? The quick tackle would learn the things the quick tackle does, like the down block or the reach block or just the drive block. The strong tackle will be the only one that wrapped. You run a GT counter. All right, watch, I'm going to go to the left. So now we went I left. When you break the huddle, the strong side would go first, quick side would go second. And now you still got power to the strong side. Okay, it's power left, but it's the same guys blocking power. So they've been repping the double team combo right here, and that's all they've done is got to rep it from both sides. And I understand the position coaches make on that. They only got to teach them one set of blocking rules, but you got to teach it to them both ways. So to me, it's a wash. And then your quick guard's your wrapper. Okay, you're going to run power left. Now you're going to run counter right out of I left. Okay, kick, that's all he's repped. On his pull, he's the kicker. He's the wrapper. Okay, and basically your quick tackles become nothing but a down blocker, a gap flip guy or a cutoff guy. Okay, so that's the advantage of it, and that's why they have a strong side and a quick. Now, a lot of wing T guys still flip. So you see, you got right formation, and they flip their strong side and their quick side. You don't see it as much anymore, but some teams still do it. Like I said, I know a guy just won a state championship like 2 years ago, a 3A state championship in Alabama, flipping his sides, and for the reasons I just gave. All right, see, over here, these guys, this is your buck side. You'd always buck to the tight end. You say, well, then they know what you're going to do. 90%, 95% of bucks go to the tight end. Some people run short buck, okay? But 90, 95, even more percent of your bucks go to the tight end. So you just flip the side and run buck left. So this would be your buck trap side. And I know there's more plays than this. I'm just giving examples. So this would be your buck trap side. So this guy, the quick guard, would learn to be the wrapper, okay, and learn to be the trapper. And that's what he would rep. This guy would learn to be the kicker on the buck. And you want to throw the down in there, he'd learn to be the kicker on the down. And so they would just learn one side. Over here, the belly, they would learn to do the belly XB. Okay, if you got a 3-tech, you get a down block, step, kick. And that's what they'd work on. So these guys wouldn't take reps running belly XB. Okay, now the problem with this, if you're at a small school and you only have the 1-0 line coach. Okay, so what does the quick side and do when the strong side's repping their techniques? Stand there and hold bags? If you got two guys, you can do this a lot more effectively. All right, y'all understand that? Now here you see your left formation out of the wing T. Okay, strong side, all the personnel checked in over here. They broke the huddle first, came over here to the left side. Now you got buck left. Okay, now you got belly option right. And the guys flip sides, and they took their techniques with them. Now, this is the reason they did it. I'm not arguing for or against it. I'm giving you the reasons that there's a strong side and a quick side. Or back when I played, when they stigmatized you as a strong side and a weak side. Now let me really confuse you. Excuse me. When I first started coaching, we were a split back veer team. Okay, and the system we used was similar to the wing T numbering system where you numbered them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That was the holes. You numbered the butts. If there had been there's no tight end here, but if there were tight end here, his butt would be the 8-hole. Okay? His butt would be the 7-hole. The center's butt's always the 5-hole. So this would be a right formation. The strong side and the tight end and the flanker, and what we did, would all go to the right when we called right. Okay, now here's where it got confusing. our inside veer was 71 and 79. Okay, so we called right 71. That meant we were running inside veer right. Okay, and we called right 79. The inside veer would be to the left. I'm not lying to you. This is how we did it. All right, watch when we flip it. We call left 71. Now the inside veer is going to the left because they took their numbers with them. Now, it was as complicated as it could be to begin with, but once we learned it, and the kids subsequently learned it, it was easy. They just always knew that 79 was always inside veer weak. Okay? 71 was always inside veer strong. So you had to listen to the call, right or left. Okay? And I'm not trying to sell you on it because I wouldn't go back to this for love nor money. Told y'all I'm from the South. But so when you flip it, okay, like this, boom, now right. Now our outside veer was 81 and 89. Of course, we didn't run outside veer weak very much. It depended on the defense, but very rare. Maybe once or twice over a few years, one or two opponents over a few years. The outside veer was 81 and 89. So if it was right 81, then we'd run outside veer to the right. Okay? And if we went back to the left and called left, this is left, strong side's to the left, left 81, strong side veers to the left. Okay? And that's the reason that they did it, for a lot of reasons. Okay, so the question got me to thinking about it, and I remember when Coach Perkins came to Alabama. Now, this is Perkins, I believe, his second team. This is the 85 Alabama football. This is the alphabetical roster. I tried to find a numerical roster so I could bunch them all up. But look, you can see what I'm talking about. Jeff Bentley was the quick guard. By the way, look at that dude right there playing right outside linebacker, which was a lie. That son of a gun wasn't on the right side every time. He was all over the place, wherever he wanted to be. All right, Jeff Bentley was the quick guard. So he would go, if it was right, he'd go left. If it was left, he'd go right. Okay? Scott Blankenship was a strong guard. Okay? He would go to the call side because he was the strong guard. All right? Down here, Alan Brown was the strong tackle. He would go to the call side. So if it was a right formation, he went to the right. Left formation, he went to the left. Okay. Now, one more question. Don't have a diagram for it. A guy asked me, what is meant by the blind side? And a lot of people think the blind side, a lot of fans think the blind side is the left side because the NFL, the left tackle, the highest paid lineman in the league, I guess maybe the second highest paid position in the league behind quarterback is the left tackle. Not if you got a left-handed quarterback, it's the right tackle. Okay? The blind side is away from the quarterback's throwing arm. All right, and that was the reason also why people like Dan Marino, back when he played, backpedaled. That way they could see the entire field and they could also see their blind side. And then he would flip his hips and set up and throw the ball. All right, and that's why a lot of teams set their pass protection to the left. Like if they're going to insert a running back to pick up a backer, like if you're going to have a 3-and-3 protection, 3 on one side, 3 on the other side, 3 are linemen on one side, 2 are linemen on the other side with help from a back. They will set the protection to the quarterback's blind side because, honestly, would you rather have a lineman protecting the quarterback's blind side or a running back? And I know there's all kind of other things. I'm talking about very basics. The blind side is simply the side opposite the quarterback's throwing hand that when he sets to throw the ball, his back, if he's right-handed, is to the left. And that's the blind side. Okay? And if he's left-handed, it's exactly the opposite. Because when he sets to throw the ball, now the blind side is to the right. And that's all that's meant by the blind side. Everybody just, and it pretty much is the left side most of the time because most people, 90-something% of the population is right-handed. And that pretty much carries over to quarterbacking too. But guys like Steve Young, his blind side was to the right. Okay? Kenny Stabler, which they really didn't worry about the blind side back then as much. It wasn't until we all know the story about Joe Theismann and Lawrence Taylor. Kenny Stabler's blind side would be to the right because he was left-handed. All right, and any other left-handed quarterback. So that's all it's meant by the blind side. All right, that's it. Just emptying. They really empty it. But I went in a long, drawn-out thing about strong side, quick side. But a lot of folks don't know that. And this may be more of a primer for the young coach, the new coach, to understand what people are talking about. Hey, if you have any more questions, hit me up in the comments below. Hit me up at Seagle, S-E-A-G-L-E, S-Eagle. It's like spelling eagle, seagle.chip@gmail.com. Join the conversation over at Football Talk with Coach Chip on Facebook, and on Twitter, I'm at Chip Seagle, spelled the same, Chip, S-E-A-G-L-E. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share the crap out of this football channel. Okay, we need y'all to make this thing go. We're getting closer and closer to several magic numbers, and which will make my retirement a lot better, y'all. All right, until next time, be elite.